Okay, 12 fans, it's your time to shine. We're going over Gabranth, the new Neo Vision version. Not even the upgrade to the old one. We didn't get a brand new Neo Vision version of Gabranth, a fantastic physical tank, but do you actually need him? We're also going over the upgrade to Balthier as well as the Ray of Hope Larsa 5-star base. So strap in, let's get it on. Thanks for spending that time here today. And let's talk about Gabranth, starting with his Trustmaster Award, the Errant Hound, 30% HP as well as 50% true dual wield defense. This is a fantastic Trustmaster Award for Gabranth because he is dual wield. He is doing his damage based off of his defense, and that defense is going to make him extra bulky when he's on your team because he is also, first and foremost, a tank. So you're definitely going to want to pick up his Trustmaster Award. His STMR here is Gabranth's armor. It is a pretty bulky, heavy armor here. We've seen stuff like this before in the game, but this one gives you a ton of defense as well as a ton of HP. 115 defense, 65 spirit, 30% HP, as well as 500 HP, and then 15 attack. Why? I don't know, but that attack is there. His vision card is a Judge Magister, which is going to go right into him, and you're going to be using this card for him. It gives him HP and defense as a base stat added to him at level 10. You're going to get 800 HP as well as 80 defense there. You are also going to be getting 10% defense equipped with a helm or heavy armor at level 4, as well as 10% more when equipped with helm or heavy armor at level 7. And then if it's equipped to a FF12 unit, which he is at level 10, you're also going to be getting an additional 20% defense. So 60% defense total there. It's going to help you out. Is this card like an absolute game changer for anyone else? It just is a good tank card overall when you're trying to take that physical damage. But yes, you are going to be using this card because he does do his damage based off of his defense there, so that's going to help you even more when gearing this character. Now let's go over his Brave Shift form stats and durations. We have available on turn 1. It lasts infinite turns. His Brave Shift form is going to be where a lot of his damage does come from, so you are going to want to unlock that eventually. But a lot of his tanking prowess does come from actually his normal form. It also is in his Brave Shift form, but if you only get him as a base NV character, you can utilize him as a physical tank. So his weapon selection: daggers, swords, great swords, katanas, and spears. Armor selection: light and heavy shields, though you probably won't be using those because he has true dual wield defense there. You need to be using 2 weapons to activate that. He also has access to armor, as in the light and heavy versions, and helmets there. No hats or robes for you. Now let's talk about his normal form abilities here. We have Gale of the Judge, which is going to be a break mechanic ability. If you use this skill against someone who is break gauge is weak to sword damage, it's going to get a 500% bonus there. He is going to be Stardust Ray Chaining Frame family for a lot of his skills here. The first one we'll be going over is Spinning Blade, Stardust Ray, 48 times mod based off of his defense here with a 200% defense buff and a 100% provoke. So this is really his provoke skill here. So chaining provoke skill. If you want him to provoke, this is the skill you're using. You're not using this skill for damage. Sentence, though, is going to be his first brave ability we talk about at level 5. It's an 86 times defense scaling ability that also gives you 8 LB gauge crystals to Gabranth per cast there, and it's the Bolting Strike Chaining Frame family. So a very awesome Chaining Frame family skill for a Neo Vision character. There's not that many. I think it might just be Elena only right now that has Bolting Strike as an NV character. Before this banner came out, this banner does have more Bolting Strike characters for you guys to use with Elena there. Now we also have Judge's Defense, which is his other brave ability. It's his AoE physical cover. So physical cover with a 100% resistance to defense break. It's nothing super crazy. It does last 4 turns. This is your traditional cover, but you are going to have to level this brave ability up to get the most out of it there. We also have Hatred, which is an attack and magic break of 65% for 4 turns to all enemies there. We also have Circle of Judgment, which does put a 75% general damage mitigation buff on Gabranth for 1 turn. So you can make him extra bulky at the drop of a hat whenever you want to. Just throw Circle of Judgment as a skill in your rotation that you're using. He does have innate dual cast in his normal form there. We have some other skills to go over here. Volunteered Information mitigates physical damage taken by 45% for 4 turns to all allies there. This does cost 10% of Gabranth's HP, but it does have that nice utility of that physical damage mitigation. Clinging to Life here is his Grandis ability here. You can only use this 3 times per battle, but you can use this in these situations, and it's going to be very strong for you. So it's going to apply auto revive to Gabranth for 1 turn. It also is going to mitigate 80% physical damage for 1 turn to all allies, which is a very fantastic ability there. You can use this 3 times in a battle, so 3 different big skills, big turns that you're fearful for your life of. You're going to be clinging to life with this one here, and you're going to be okay from that physical damage for that turn that you're using this skill. Guardian Flames, the 5-turn cooldown available on 1. It's going to be a 100% fire and dark resistance buff for 4 turns to all allies there. Grounded Fortitude is a 250% defense and spirit buff for 4 turns to all allies. That increases the LB gauge to all allies as well, so he can help out not only himself here as an LB battery generator, but for your party as well. So damage, utility, tankiness, he's kind of got all a little bit of sorts thrown in his kit there. Mistveil is his final skill in his base form. 6-turn cooldown available on 1. It's going to be his physical cover, and it's going to apply a 50% general damage mitigation buff for 4 turns to your team as well. So we like to see skills like this on our tanks because it allows him to just use that cover right away on turn 1, get that general damage mitigation buff up on your team right away on turn 1, and it makes him able to do that role for your team of being the general damage mitigator. That is something that tanks are very good at now, and Gabranth is no different. Now, skipping down to his LB here, we also have Innocence here, which is going to be a 48 times mod scaling off of his defense, so not a whole lot of damage there in this form, but it also does put up that 50% general damage mitigation buff as well. So he can keep that general damage mitigation buff up full time for your team there. Absolutely fantastic. Now, if you go into his passives here, we have a lot of defense and HP and defense and just passives of that nature there. But I want to talk about his Trustability here. His Trustability, Protector of a Bright Future, is a must activate Trustability for him. This is because it's going to give you 100% true dual wield of defense when dual wielding. It also gives you 30% HP and auto casts Protector of a Bright Future at the start of the battle or after being revived, and this is going to be a 1-turn triple cast. So very, very, very amazing for you there. Judge Magister Pride gives you another 50% true dual wield defense. So if you have his Trustmaster on, you're going to have these 2 passives of 150% true dual wield defense, and then the TMR itself gives you another 50%. So you can have that 200% true dual wield defense capped here in the base form. On top of that, you're going to be wearing heavy armor, helms, or light armor. Any combination of that is going to get you a lot of HP and defense bulkiness. As you can see, he's got 30% defense when wearing, any variation of armors or helms combination. He's got other passives on top of that for HP plus defense as well if you are wearing heavy armor and helms. So definitely get out there, equip him with heavy armor, equip him with helms. Very fantastic there. He also has 70% draw attacks as a passive, so you only need 30% more. You can get this from Moogle Charm. You can get this from a lot of different variations in materia. You only need 30% more, so don't use Moogle Plushie, your true dual wielding defense there. You don't want to be using a weapon and a shield. You want to be using 2 weapons there for you guys. Now, that's his base form there, so let's talk about his Brave Shift form. His base form kind of has the traditional tanking stuff. He's got the cover, he's got the provoke, he's got draw attacks, he's got the general mitigation, physical mitigation, and a little bit of damage with that 86 times mod. His Brave Shift form is going to retain a lot of that utility, right? We still have Spitting Blade, Sentence, we still have volunteered information. All of that utility is, for the most part, still in here. We can't re-put up our cover with our normal cover. That Brave ability is gone, but this is going to allow you to swap in and do a little bit more damage here. So now we have, in addition to Sentence, we have Enraged. The multiplier on this one is a little bit higher. It's a 92 times mod defense scaling instead of 86, so barely higher. 8 mod increase there. Doesn't give us LB gauge either, but this is going to be his hardest hitting skill. But the biggest change here is he has permanent triple cast in this form. So if you want to do Star Destroy, you have Enraged. If you want to do Sentence for Bolting Strike, you still have access to both of those skills in his Brave Shift form. You will always have triple cast unlocked here in his Brave Shift form. He also has Dark Imbue here with Earth Splitting Darkness, 48 times mod defense scaling. Has a chance to inflict blind as well if that comes into a little bit of chance for it to be utilitied in certain boss fights out there. Very few though. But it is also Star Destroy, and that 4-turn Dark Imbue is going to be a way for him to imbue himself if you do need to do that. He still has dual cast in this form too for some reason, but he also just has triple cast, so just triple cast everything. Volunteered information is still here. We have Miss Blade, which is his Grandis ability in this form, Star Destroy, 3 times per battle, unique selection on multicast because it is a Grandis skill, not a Magnus skill. 120 times defense mod to one enemy there with a 120% dark resist. So this is going to be his hardest hitting skill, period, right? His hardest hitting spammable skill is Enraged, but this is his hardest hitting skill. Guardian Flames is still here for that fire and dark resist buff. And then we have Guardian's Tenacity, 3-turn cooldown, available on turn 3. 108 times defense scaling mod. That gives a 10 times mod increase to a lot of the skills we talked about, but most importantly, Enrage and Sentence are in here as well. Mistblade is in here too, which is a skill we just went over, his Grindus ability. Those all get a 10 times mod increase. So this is going to take Enrage up to a 102 times multiplier and definitely make it your hardest hitting skill, period. Now also, just in case you want to do Bolting Strike, Sentence also gets a 10 times mod, which makes it a 96 times multiplier there for you as well. Now we also have Loyal Shield, 4-turn cooldown, available on turn 1. This is going to be a very weird type of cover that Gabranth does have access to in this form, his Brave Shift form. 4-turn cooldown, chance to protect one target ally from all damage and mitigate damage to himself. So he can cover both physical and magical damage. We've seen this with characters like Gladiolus before, where they can cover literally a character from taking any sort of damage. It hasn't really been utilized for a long time, since like the Wicked Moon Trial, to do some sort of weird cheesy things. It's more of like a cheesy skill. You have to think way outside of the box to use this, and usually you need multiple characters that can do those sort of things in your team at the same time to fully utilize it, right? You could have like 3 Gabranths, or like Gabranth and get a Gladiolus and like another Gabranth or something, and then they can all single target cover your other 3 characters, and you'll be able to prevent 3 teammates on your team from taking any damage whatsoever. It is a very hard skill to use, and a lot of the times out there, guys, you won't be using this skill that often, but it also does do a 200% defense and spirit buff for 5 turns to your whole team on top of that. So keep that in mind there. His passives here in his form, the return of the equipment passives are back with a vengeance here. So same thing, helms, light armor, heavy armor, throw them all on. You want to have them for this character here. He also still has 150% true dual wield, so you still want to have his normal Trustmaster Award on for that last 50% true dual wield here. And he also gets 100% LB damage, 100% high tide, 10% MP recovery per turn. He does get, on top of that, 150% man eater. So bulkiness galore is this man here. He also has a counterattack called Barrier of the Judge, which is going to mitigate physical damage taken by 40% for a single turn to him as well. The one sad thing is, even though he has true dual wield defense, he does not have the 6 times multiplier cap, which is going to prevent him from doing any sort of, he's not out damaging any real damage dealer. He's primarily a tank first, and he has good supplementary damage afterwards. On top of that, remember, it's a lot harder to come up with a lot of true dual wield defense gear, especially on the weapons, than it is for any other damage dealer out there that uses traditional stats, right? Like attack and magic. So that's going to hold his damage back as well. He does have okay multipliers, 96, 106. We have a lot higher multipliers than that from other characters, but those other characters also either have like 400% true double hand attack or magic, or the 6 times multiplier cap from dual wield. So it's going to hold him back as well. Now his limit burst in this form is Guilt. It's going to be dark physical damage. It's going to do a grand total of a 95 times multiplier, and it's going to mitigate all damage taken to the caster by 80% for 2 turns. So very powerful ability here, especially for Gabranth. Usually what you're going to be doing, you're going to load into your battle. You have turn 1 triple cast. You can cast your cover here with Judge's Defense. You can cast one of your cooldown skills that you want to, like the 250% defense and spirit buff. Use the other cooldown for Misveil for that cover, plus general mitigation. Good to go there. If you want to use Clinging to Life right away, you can do that. Or what you can do, and what I would do, is I'd use Misveil for the cover and the general mitigation there. I'd use Grounded Fortitude for the LB gauge increase, right? And then I would use 1 cast of Sentence here for some more LB gauge increase here. So that's going to be 18 LB gauge right away. And then if you wanted to, the turn after that, you can go in here, Triple Judgment. You can use the Dark Imbue. You can use the Dark Imperil as well here for you, which is going to be great with Mistblade. And you have 1 more skill of your choice to use. You can use another cast of Sentence or Enrage, whatever it is that you need. And then while you're still tanking, you'll have access to casting Guilt down here if you want that general mitigation, or you can go right into just triple casting Sentence, triple casting Enraged as soon as turn 2, and keep going and going and going and going. So he's got a lot of options that you can use. He has no real like set rotation outside of make sure you get your cover up, make sure you get your mitigation up, and then if you want to be extra bulky, you know, you make sure you keep Circle of Judgment in there for that 75% general damage mitigation, or you can Brave Shift over and use his Limit Burst here for the 80% general damage mitigation. Or if you're confident enough in your gear and your characters and what you have going on, you just swap on over here and you just start imbuing yourself and using Sentence or Enraged based on what chaining family you want. He's a pretty cool character. Do I think you absolutely need to go out of your way to get Gabranth if you're not a fan of FF12? No, you definitely do not need to go out of your way and get Gabranth. I've gotten a lot of questions of like, should I upgrade my physical tank to a Neo Vision physical tank? No, you do not need to go out of your way specifically just to own a Neo Vision tank, especially a physical one right now. Now, if you are a fan of Gabranth, he's going to do everything you need him to do as a tank. He's got all of the primary roles covered, the cover, the general mitigation, all of that stuff. It's there for you, but remind yourself he is a physical tank, and a lot of the fights that we take tanks to right now, they're either flex tanks that can take either physical or magical damage, or they're straight up magical tanks there for you guys. So keep that in mind. I would not pull for him unless you were a giant fan of the character, but if you are, he's good. So let's get into the next one here. Balthier upgrade. We're going to spend as little time as possible on this guy because he did get a Neo Vision upgrade. But basically, guys, TLDR, he's got a lot of bolting strike chaining skills now. He also has a chaining finishing skill. He's going to be true double hand for you guys. Balthier is. His multipliers are all pretty much right around the same, right? They all float around, especially in his Brave Shift form. We're talking 80 to 100 on everything, no matter if you're chaining or chain finishing. That's just what he does here. That's just it. A Sanction of Thunder, 60 times mod, imbues himself with lightning. We have Freedom Bullet, one shot here, chain finishing skill, 90 times mod. But in his Brave Shift form, we have triple cast. We have Freedom Bullet, rapid shot, 80 times mod, bolting strike. Punishment Bolt 2, 100 times mod, bolting strike. Custom gunpowder, said the word getting demonetized, shoot. It's going to be a little bit MP, fill in attack buff. Booming penalty, 75 times mod. Like, it's just everything he does floats around like, you know, 70, 80, 90 multiplier, bolting strike, or chain finishing damage. His Brave Shift also is available on turn 1, but only lasts 3 turns. So he's just not good. Both of your fans out there, you can use him. You can do stuff. His multipliers are lower-ish because the good ones are locked behind his Brave Shift. And when I say the good ones, I mean 80 times chaining mods, which is something that is not the worst ever, but he is true double hand, so we've seen this before, and true double hand is fine right now in this environment. But you're going to be using Freedom Shot here with his Brave ability into the 90 times chain finishing skill there. And then we have Punishment Bolt, Sanction of Thunder, his cooldown / Grindless abilities. That's just what you're going to be doing. He's a very basic character. He wants to do lightning damage, just lightning, imbue, stuff like that. Bolting Strike, chaining, frame families, and chain finishing skills. I already spent too much time on Balthier. All right, guys, if you're a fan of him, get out there, put him in your team. He does have Bolting Strike, which is another Bolting Strike chaining frame option for you guys out there who are using Elena, so that might make him a little bit more worth it in your guys' minds out there if you're having trouble finding proper chain family of Bolting Strike for your Elena. So keep that in mind. Let's also go to Ray of Hope Larso really quickly. We can talk about this TMR and Super Trustmaster Award first. The TMR is Future Emperor. Yeah, okay. Future Emperor, 50% MP, chance to counter physical attacks with Ether counter or magic attacks with Ether counter, which is going to give you some MP back. It's going to be 50 MP to your whole party. Not a great TMR in my opinion. Swordbreaker here is attack of 93, defense of 101, spirit of 68. Very weird stats, and also has the effect of Arcadian Lord's Twin Blade, which gives you 20% HP and gives you dual wield as well. Now this weapon here, guys, I know the stats are weird. Why does this weapon exist? This weapon exists kind of for Gabranth, pretty much, because it's got 101 defense on it, and he's true dual wield defense. So this weapon's kind of in the game. There's not a whole lot of weapons that have a ton of defense. This one, I think, actually might be #1 now for defense, raw defense weapons in the game that are one-handed. The other one would be like Nyx's Kukri, I think, Nyx's Dagger from FF15. Now let's get into his kit real quick. He's going to be like a weird support character. He's like an alchemist of sorts here. So he's got stuff like High Potion and Ether, which would be good back in the day, back in 1999 on the turn of the new year. But 5,000 HP, 50 MP, not that good there. He does have Phoenix down for a 50% HP recovery. He does have dual cast for items. He's got 35% general, magic, and physical damage mitigation with 200% defense and spirit buffs there. But he just does not have a whole lot of crazy stuff. He's got 4,000 HP barriers, 99,000 full heal with Mega Elixir on an 8-turn cooldown. Can remove all buffs from an enemy, which might be one of his best skills with persuasive character there. On top of that, his LB here is going to be a little bit weird here. 15,000 HP with some MP recovery. He's just not worth it, guys. All right, he does have Soleil Fang and Lightning Fang for some chaining frame families for absolute move equity. 40 times multipliers. You know, he's got his unlock skills. X Potion, 5,000 HP to one ally and 10,000 HP to all allies. He's just not worth it, man. He's just not worth it. If you get him and you don't have any, if you get him, you're a day one player or something, you don't have a single healer yet, you can use him. But unless that's the case, I would not put him on my team. Just period. He does not have that full healer kit. He's like a semi-healer, semi-support sort of thing. He does have his merits, but as far as worth pulling on, definitely not. Definitely do not pull on Ray of Hope Larsa there. So Ray of Hope Larsa and both here, a little bit shoddy there, in my opinion. Gabranth, though, while you might not necessarily need him, he is a fantastic character if you do love him. And that kind of sums up with one of the best kinds of characters that you could have in FFBE, is if they're not worth pulling for, so you don't feel like it's necessary, right? You can't trap yourself. But if you are a fan of the character anyway, they're way more than good enough to use. So that's going to be the review today, guys. Thank you so much for spending that time here today and working on stuff for this weekend. Make sure you come and check out the stream because I'm playing one of my new currently favorite games tonight. So make sure you check that out. And until then, guys, stay safe in life. And I'll see you guys and have fun out there too in the next one. Take care, guys.